What's cooking at Smokeaholics today? What's in the smoker? There's no telling what they do.
Welcome to Smokeaholics Barbecue World. I'm out here today at the smoker. We're going to talk about some seasonings. Yes, seasoning. That's a very important part of your cook. But it's not the only thing that seasons your meat. You got charcoal that puts out some smoke, and you can get charcoal with wood chips in it and stuff. That'll help season your meat too. Also, then you got sweet and fruity. I got some applewood flavor. This stuff comes in all different flavors. Kingsford puts out a lot of different flavors. Then you can go to real wood, which I got some hickory here. Give you some hickory flavor, or you can get some mesquite wood or apple wood or cherry wood, all kind of stuff. This stuff is just as important as this, because this seasons just like this seasons. Whatever flavor you buy, that's going to put that smoke flavor into your meat. But I want to talk about this seasoning. There's all different kinds. There's rubs, there's seasonings, there's smoky, there's hickory, there's mesquite, there's apple, there's sweet, there's brown sugar, and whatever. There's so many different brands of seasonings. So we need to talk about some seasonings and talk about the different kinds. Now, when you go to the grocery store, you're going to find all hundreds of brands of seasonings out there. There's all different flavors out there. But first, you need to choose what kind of meat you want to cook. Are we cooking ribs? Are we cooking pork? Butts? Are we cooking chicken? All different kinds of chicken. Are we cooking a brisket? Are we cooking fish? But you need to decide before you decide on this, because there's some meat that can only handle certain seasonings, and then there's some meats that have better seasonings made for. Now let's talk about rubs. You take a piece of meat here. A rub you're gonna coat just like this right here. You're gonna coat that whole piece of meat. There's gonna be a coating there. And you're gonna do the same thing on this side. You're gonna coat it real good. That's a rub. A rub has your meat covered so much that you cannot see no meat. Now seasonings, you're gonna sprinkle some on. You're gonna grab a different flavor, sprinkle it on. Grab a different flavor, sprinkle it on. You're building your flavors that way. So you need to decide what kind of meat, if you're going to buy a rub or seasoning. But just a hint, it's called a rub, but don't rub your meat, your seasoning on your meat like this. You want to coat it and just pat it in. You want your seasoning to stay where it's at. You don't want to push it all over your meat. You just want to pat it in. I know it's a rub, but so let's check this out. Alright, so we chose ribs, okay? That's what I chose today. I'm going to put a smoky dry rub on it. I'm going to coat my meat real heavy, okay? Both sides. But before I do that, there's something else we need to talk about. Do I want to marinate or not? Now, when you marinate, that's putting more seasoning, more flavor into your meat. When I do chicken, I like to do mojo, apple juice. Sometimes I do different flavor of fruit. So that's part of your seasoning too. So if you want to marinate, then you go put your meat in a bag with your your marinade and let it sit a couple hours or overnight. Okay, then it comes to, I marinated it. This next day I'm ready to grill. Okay. Do I want? I dried off my meat. Now, do I want to put a binder? You can put Worcester sauce and then put your seasoning on it. Or you could do, like a lot of people, yep, oh, lost it here. Or a lot of people, I do yellow mustard. Now me, I like to do brown mustard. It's got some seasoning and some spice in it. And I like to cook mine with brown mustard and then put my seasoning on. Now, if you don't like mustard, don't worry about it, because you're not going to taste the mustard flavor. There's vinegar in this mustard, and it helps break down your meat also while it's cooking to make it tender. But all this does is hold your seasoning on. That's all a binder does. Some people even sprays their meat with a spray and then season it. But check this out. Alright, we talked about binders. This is a binder. This is what you do with a binder. You cover your meat with it. Now, so you got covered with your binder. Okay, we chose for these ribs today brown sugar bourbon seasoning. See how I'm patting it? And it's not covered, so we didn't rub it. There goes your seasoned ribs. Alright. Once we chose the meat we want, the seasoning or rub that we're choosing needs to add flavor to these ribs, or your chicken, or whatever you're cooking. I'm just going to use ribs for example. There's some seasonings out there that'll bring the pork flavor out of this meat. It'll add to it. That's your most important thing. You want to add flavor to your piece of meat. You don't want to change the taste of your pork, and you actually don't want to cover your taste of your pork. You still want to taste your pork, but you want a little bit of different flavors added with it. That's the whole part of seasoning, not covering up your taste of your meat, of your pork, of your beef, or your chicken, or your fish. So, while you're deciding your seasonings, your marinades, and all, make sure they compare to the piece of meat that you're cooking. I'll see you in a little bit. Okay, so we need to, we got our meat picked out, we got our marinade, we got our seasoning and rubs all on our meat. Now we need to decide if we want to grill it or put it in a smoker. That's going to flavor you're seasoning your meat also. Grilling is hot, fast, like a char grill taste. If that's what you're going for, have at it. I've done ribs many days on my Santa Maria, grilled them, and they're just as good as smoking them. But let's talk about smoking. Smoking is low and slow. It'll take you hours to smoke a piece of meat. But you're giving your meat time to break down the collagens and get your flavor into it. That's where this stuff comes into effect. If you're using apple wood, that smoke is going to put the apple flavor into your meat as you're cooking. So this is seasoning your meat also with the seasoning that you have on here too. So when you choose your seasoning, think about what you're cooking with too, because you want it to blend together and make a nice flavor. And also in your seasoning, remember, simple is sometimes better. Alright, so if you're grilling and smoking, you're going to have two different flavors on your meat. Like I said, grilling is charcoal. You're going to have a char grill kind of flavor. Smoking, you're going to have a nice pink smoke flavor. When you cut it, you should have a nice smoke ring where your meat absorbs your smoke. So, check these different cookers out. That's how we're cooking our ribs. In the grill, but we're smoking by using an offset. Okay, so when you choose your wood, think about this. Some of your wood is strong. Got a strong flavor. Some of them's got a fruity flavor. Some of them's kind of subtle. Okay, this apple wood's going to give it a nice apple flavor. This hickory is going to be a little stronger wood. Going to give it more of a hickory flavor, stronger. Then your mesquite's going to be a different flavor. Your charcoal really gives it flavor, but all depends on what kind of charcoal you got. This is just regular charcoal, but you can get some with wood pieces in them. So I'll always check that out too when you decide to, whatever meat you want, and you would, compare it. There's charts out there that shows you what wood would be best for what meat. Check that out, do some research, and make sure you're not going to overpower your piece of meat and your rib flavor. Our Kingford charcoal here is putting a good smoke flavor on our ribs in there. That's part of seasoning. Okay, so you're doing a pork butt, or maybe even a pig, or a brisket. There's other ways of seasoning your meat too, and that's injection. Now I got this fancy injector where you put this in a thing and you shoot it right in. The seasoning and the liquid comes right through here and shoots into your meat. I have a video on injecting a whole hog, so check that out if you want to look at injecting large pieces of meat with an injector. Be a good video for you. This also seasons your meat because you're putting this flavor right into your meat. I use sometimes mojo, fruit juices. A lot of times it's apple juice mixed in water is what I use a lot of times. But this helps keep your big large pieces of meat nice and juicy and puts the flavor right into them. You wouldn't want to do it with these that much, because it's not that thick. But if you're doing large pieces of meat, you may want to think about one of these. Alright. While we're cooking our meat, we want to keep it moist. We don't want it to dry out. I usually use one of these. If I'm starting out, my meat's kind of raw, I put a little apple juice and fill all up with water. As my meat starts getting done, I put more apple juice and less water. The apple juice is going to give it a nice sugary coating on your meat. But there's different ways of keeping your meat moist. There's a spray bottle. You can put your this is seasoning too, because you can put your fruit juices in it. You take your water, mix your seasonings up in it, and spray it. A little harder with this one. This one's got a bigger hole. But this one you just squirt your meat. But like every 30 minutes you want to open up your lid and wet your meat, keep your meat moist. Also, if you got a big bad boy like this, I'd put a pan on the bottom down here where the fire comes in of all kinds of juices. That way when it smokes and moisture goes up, it puts that flavor onto my meat. So see, there's different ways of seasoning your meat to get to the finished product. Your seasonings, your marinades, your binders, your charcoal or wood, all that helps season your meat to get you to a great tasting piece of meat at the end. So next time you get ready to barbecue, think about each step. What you gonna start? What you gonna cook with? What seasoning you gonna put? What kind of flavor you gonna cook with? What flavors are you gonna splits with? What flavors you gonna marinate with? All this helps to give this pork rib the flavor you want. So think about that next time you start barbecuing or smoking. Smokeraholics Barbecue World here. Thank you for watching. God bless you. And I hope it helps you out. Okay, we talked about our ribs drying out and splitsing them every so often. If you see, they're kind of dry looking. We're gonna start. I got some mortar and mango right there in here. We're gonna start giving them a little bit of moisture. Once my seasoning and binding and all that got dry, where I won't wash it off, we start splitting some. Got a wing. Okay, we're gonna wrap our ribs. Now, you can put barbecue sauce, apple juice, butter, all kinds of stuff you can put in this wrap right here to season your meat. put a little bit of this water and then go. You side down. There we go. All right, let's check these ribs. He said we put all this love into all this different seasonings. There. Alrighty, that's our ribs.